Is that right? His first journey. He saw some strange looking people there. They didn't come out and say, "Ho, we Indians." He was looking for a new route to India. Found some people that he had never seen before and called them Indians. And since he was sailing west to go east, he called that part the West Indies. So now we're coming up, I am a West Indian. To the brothers and sisters listening in the Caribbean, I want you to know that you ain't no West Indian, you know. You're deeper than that. You are bigger than that. How dare you let the little island on which you live cause you to be separated from your own kith and kin. So one from Jamaica, one from Barbados, one from Trinidad, one from St. Kitts, one from Nevis, one from Barbuda, one from Tortola, one from this, one from that, and you're all arguing and fighting with each other over a term that does not apply to you. Christopher Columbus is not our origin, so he can't call me a West Indian. Neither is Africanus our origin. So you call yourself an African. You are not an African. You were before there was an Africa. Look at yourself. I'm an African American. Stop it. They named this country after Amerigo Vespucci, one of the grafted members of a grafted people that are Johnny-come-latelys on our earth. Now you're going to call yourself an American and an African, both of them named by Caucasian people. What was the original name of that continent? And is that your home? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, "What is the square mileage of the earth? How much is the land and how much is the water?" The earth is 196,940,000 square miles. And the land is 57,255,000 square miles. And the water is 139,685,000 square miles. Don't tell me about Africa's my home. No, the earth is my home. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and we are the Lord's that the fullness of the earth belongs to. So don't you narrow yourself again after today. We know what you mean when you say I'm an African. We understand that. But you got to grow up now into a deeper knowledge.
There are three belts that leave the coast of Africa. There's one that's in the north, there's one in the middle, and there's one in the south. When you look at this middle one literally will take you right into the Gulf of Mexico, even if you didn't have power boat. And what's going to happen is the Africans are going to start to move into this area here, and they're going to begin to settle in this corner of the Gulf of Mexico. They're going to develop, according to what our research shows, three major cities: Tres Zapotes, San Lorenzo, okay, and La Venta.
If you go to Mexico, southern Mexico now, especially in the provinces and towns in southwest Mexico, they'll tell you there's two black people there: the ones that came on the ship, meaning those who were enslaved, and the ones who came before the ship.
is time.
Siemi, Sawabona, Dumele. Hello, what's up? What's cracking? Man, happy to do this video. This is getting really close to my heart and what the Most High has been sharing with me and with others as far as diasporas. So, especially to my diasporans, this video is tailored for us in the diaspora. If you can't tell by my accent, I am from America, California, by way of the motherland and beyond. And so, if you don't know, if you haven't watched my last video on, I think I titled it something. This is my last video. I was posing the questions and explaining who we are, not just on the home turf, not just on the throne of the earth, but who we are as far as the rest of the earth. So we have a rich history. We have a rich history with our people, our culture. We have different ethnic backgrounds. There's different ethnic backgrounds on the motherland, on Embo, Akabalan, on the African continent. We have different ethnic groups there. We also have different ethnic groups here in the States and on other places, in other islands, So in general, I believe I'm going to be doing a series of videos showing our history on a deeper, giving ourselves a deeper pride about who we are, not just in Africa, but who we are on this earth, and this is some of the biggest mysteries that I've had in my journey of understanding and learning my place in our people's role. So that is the point of this video, is to expand expand the expanse. One time the Most High told me to expand the expanse a couple years ago. He had put me under a portal, and that was the first thing that he told me was expand the expanse. That was the only thing that he told me that time. And so that has been resonating for years with me. I'm not somebody that just stays on one subject or one part of theology or one rule and stays with it, because I believe that we are gods in training, and there is a lot more to understand and to help us grow into our godship, our godhood, our rightful inheritance, not just as a melanated person, but especially as Bantu, identifiers, as Hebrew identifiers, So, I'll get into it. Let's just get into it. And this is going to be a video where I'm going to be reading. So stay with me. Screenshot what you need to. But please don't get bored, because this is you. This is made for you. This is FUBDUE right here. This is the epitome of FUBDUE, knowledge. Our people perish for a lack of knowledge. Yes, exactly. So, if you are of the Spirit, if you're of the Mwandan Simi, then, and if you agree with the Spirit, agree with the Mwandan Simi, agree with the Most High, you will let Him guide you and take you into places that may be uncomfortable, but eventually you will see the benefits of it, And as far as a message to my diasporans, to us here in diaspora, especially the foundational ones here in America, we have a duty to learn who we are here, and we have a duty to speak our truth to the nations, because we are different, and it's time to explore our differences, and it's time to strengthen ourselves so that we can be more of a use to the body, to Bana Betu. So that is the point of why I will be doing videos explaining who we are in diaspora and not just focusing on slavery. So let's get into it. Here we go. In his journey on the second voyage, Columbus wrote that he reached Haiti. Actually, before I get started, I want to let you guys know where I'm at right here. So, I'm going to be talking about our history in Haiti, just pieces, not the complete history because our history is bananas, but our history in Haiti and Mexico, and just to show you guys that it's not just about Africa. It's not just about Africa. We are more than just Africa. We're more than just America. We're just more than what they've shown us. And it's time for us to learn from each other and teach each other, and not be so hung up on subjects that we are beginning to learn about. We just started learning about our own history, so let's not cap it. Let us keep digging. And yeah, so I'm gonna read, and I'm gonna read. So here we go again. In his journey on the second voyage, Columbus wrote that when he reached Haiti, then labeled Española, the native people told him that black-skinned people had come from the south and southeast in ships, trading in gold-tipped metal spears. The following is recorded in Rakota, Part 1, Volume 1, and I quote, Columbus wanted to find out what the Indians of Española had told him that had come from the south and southeast. Negro people who brought those spear points made of a metal that which they call guanine, of which he had sent samples to the king and queen for assay, and which was found to have 32 parts, 18 of gold, 6 of silver, and 8 of copper. End quote. Curious about the validity of the story, Columbus did indeed send samples of these spears back to a mail ship to Spain to be examined, and it was found that the ratio of properties of gold, copper, and silver alloy were identical to the spears then being forged in African Guinea. In a book of the life of Columbus, his son, Ferdinand, reported that his father saw black people himself when he reached the region just north of the country today called Honduras. Nearly a dozen other European explorers also found black people in the Americas when they reached the Western Hemisphere. In September 1513, Vasco Nunez de Balboa led his men down the slopes of Quaragua, which was near Darien, now called Panama, where they saw several black men who were captured by Native Americans. Balboa asked the Indians whence they got them, the black people, but they could not tell, nor did they know more than this, that men of this color were living nearby and they were constantly waging war with them. These were the first Negroes that had been seen in the Indies. Interesting. Peter Martyr, the first prominent European historian of the New World, stated that the black men seen by Balboa and his companions were shipwrecked Africans who had taken refuge in local mountains. Father Fray Georgia Garcia, a priest of the Dominican order who spent 9 years in Peru during the early 16th century, identified an island off of Cartagena, Colombia, as the place where the Spanish first found black people in the New World, and what they called the New World. It wasn't new to us. As in Darien, these Africans were also captives of war among the Native Americans. Also during the 16th century, after the advent of Columbus, but before the universal enslavement of Africans, Cabello de Balboa cited a group of 17 black people who, after being shipwrecked in Ecuador, became governors of an entire province of Native Americans. Became governors of an entire province of Native Americans. Selah. As early as the 19th century, wrote Jonathan Leonard, a specialist on early Mexico, reports had come from this coastal region, the Mexican Gulf Coast, of gigantic heads with negroid features. Isn't that a funny word? Negroid. The first of these heads was discovered by Jose Melgar in Veracruz in 1862. He wrote 2 articles about this particular head. One in the Bulletin de Geografía y Estadística, and the other in the respected Sociedad Mexicana de Geografía y Estadística. Melgar's Mind, wrote art historian Alexander von Wuthenau. Man, I know I am butchering these words. Sorry to my South Americans, but I am not linguistically trained in the South American languages quite yet. Give me grace. Not yet tainted by certain currents of modern and perhaps not so modern anthropology, reacted quite normally to this newly found evidence of the black man's presence in ancient America. He furthermore cites a document of Francisco Núñez Vega, that was easy, 1691, who describes an ancient calendar found in Chiapas that mentions 7 negritos representing the 7 planets. That's something to go into. We'll possibly go into that later, a later video, as I do more research on what 7 planets they are referring to. 7 stars. And yeah, I found that very, very, very interesting and enlightening. Especially in accordance to other stone hinges that write that there are 7 basically holy men in Kemet and in islands outside of the Americas. But that is another story. I digress. So here we have a picture of a bunch of people standing around their discovery of this big negrito head, in which we call now Olmecs. So let's get into the Olmec head. In describing the Olmec head, Melgar wrote that what astonished me was the Ethiopic, aka Black African type which it represents. I reflected that there had undoubtedly been blacks in this country, and this had been the first epoch of the world. Wow. Melgar's discovery, 16 other colossal stone heads have been found in many parts of Mexico alone, including ancient sacred sites such as La Venta and Tres Zapotes in southern Mexico, or should I say Mexico, ranging up to 11.15 feet in height and weighing an estimate 30 to 40 tons. These statues generally depicted helmeted black men with large eyes, broad, fleshly noses, and, you guessed it, full negrito lips. They appear to represent priest kings. Where we heard that term before? Who ruled vast territories in Mesoamerica, Mexico, and Central America. During the Olmec period, these dates are very important. 1200 to 400 BCE. These are the ancient biblical times. These are the times of Dawidi. These are the times of the prophets. So, this is how long we have been traveling and migrating on this is just Mexico. So, I digress. Which is to be considered later Herod. I don't know what that means. I hope that means. On the strength of the colossal Olmec heads and other evidence, several early Mexican scholars concurred with Melgar's contention that black people settled in the New World, particularly Mexico, in antiquity. Author C.C. Marquez adds that several isolated but concordant facts permit the conjecture that before the information and development of the three great ethnographic groups, a great part of America was occupied by us, the Negroid type. And remember, these are biblical times we are talking about. Historian Nicholas Leon was of a similar opinion, and I quote, "The oldest inhabitants of Mexico, according to some, were Negroes, and according to others, the Otomies. The existence of Negroes and giants is commonly believed by nearly all the races of our soil. Several archaeological objects found in various locations demonstrate their/our existence. Memories of them in the most ancient traditions induce us to believe that the Negroes were the first inhabitants of Mexico, of the earth." Here we have another sculpture that was found in Mexico, another head that was found. Author David Imhotep cites a number of scientists and scholars who have identified prehistoric skulls and skeletons of black people of the Austro-Negrito type dating back to as early as 56,000 years ago throughout the New World. This appears to be sustained by more recent discoveries. In this same vein, historian Frederick Peterson has written that we can trace the progress of man in Mexico without noting any definite Old World influence during this period. Remember what I said at the beginning of this video. Here's some more dates. 1000 to 650 BC. except a strong Negroid substratum connected with the magicians, aka the Olmecs, aka the prophets, aka the priest kings. Lost my place, I was getting so excited. Finally, in February of 1975, a team from the Smithsonian Institute reported the discovery of two Negroid male skeletons in a grave in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Scientific analysis of the surrounding soil suggests that the skeletons date back to about 1250 AD. Selah. The reason why they had to study the soil is because that's how they carbon date. You can't really carbon date stone. I don't think you can carbon date stone at all. You have to carbon date the soil, the earth that is around it. And the same thing that comes to human decomposing. So here's another picture of a negrito. My brother, looks like my brother Dawidi Benacongo's dome piece right there. There you go, brother. Speaking specifically about the African influence on the Olmec culture, historian Zachariah Sitchin provides this view. It is an embarrassing enigma because it challenges scholars and prideful nationalists to explain how people from Africa could have come to the New World not hundreds but thousands of years before Columbus, and how they could have developed seemingly overnight the mother civilization of Mesoamerica. To acknowledge the Olmecs and their civilization as the mother civilization of Mesoamerica means to acknowledge that they preceded that of the Mayans and the Aztecs, whose heritage the Spaniards tried to eradicate and Mexicans today are still proud of. Y'all, when I tell you we have so much history, it is bananas. I wanted to do my first video like this, historical video like this, on our place in Northern America where I reside. But this is where the Mwanda led me first. So I can't wait to do another video and release another video on who we are, on making our way up to North America. Here's another picture here. I will describe it right now. In 1599, the painting was created by a Native American painter by the name of Adrian Sanchez Galqueu. Like many original fine works of art of this time, the painting is last known to exist in the collection of a European museum in Spain, the Museo de América de Madrid. Like that. When we first came upon the image from 1599, we became curious about the story behind the painting and the subsequent history of those Africans who continued at the place called Esmeralda, Ecuador, more than 400 years after this painting was commissioned. We were not surprised that this painting may be located in Madrid in 1599. The history of Madrid was not far removed from a time when the area was under complete rule of the Moors. The Moors were if you don't know, we have an incredible history in Moorish history. It's deep, it's dope, it's amazing. The Moors were a group of predominant Islamics, but we Moors were also the word Moor just means black man, black person. The Moors were mixed with Bantus and other black people that worked together to colonize the earth in a good way, and ruled and reigned everywhere before the white nations came and kicked them out. That's a whole nother story in itself. When I tell you how rich our history is, it's bananas. Okay. The Moors migrated from northern Africa and settled, and when they say northern Africa, don't just think the top. Northern Africa was basically right above the Congo. That whole area is considered northern Africa. And settled the current city we call Madrid today. In fact, as 865 AD, before the city fell under Castilian rule in 1083, under leadership of Alfonso the Sixth. Of the date the painting was created was 516 years. From 1599 to 2014 is 415 years. Both periods being relatively short historical time spans. This is illustrated only to provide the reader a historical perspective. In 1544, Ecuador was reportedly under Spain's colonial rule. By 1564, Ecuador was dealing directly with Madrid. So who are these three men in the painting? The historical accounts indicate the center figure is Don Francisco de Arobe. The other two men are his sons, Don Domingo at the right and Don Pedro at the left. Each man holds a spear and wears an elaborate combination of Native American, indigenous, and Ibero-Spanish inspired clothing. All that is our style. So when it says Native American, it's talking about us. When it says indigenous, it's talking about us. You already know, especially us in our diaspora, in American diaspora, our fashion is off the chain. In the actual painting, each man is identified by the title Don, a sign of respect in Latin Hispanic culture at the time. So Don actually means like boss. It can be referred to as the king, the boss, the head honcho. It is evident from the gold jewelry and the title as Dons that the men were of high standing in the Esmeralda of 1599. The painting's inscription states as follows: Dr. Juan del Barrio de Sepulveda, Judge of the Real Audiencia of Quito, commission and paint for the painting to Your Majesty Philippe, Catholic King of Spain and the Indies in the year of 1599. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the Mzungu nations have known about this and have kept this from us this whole time. But not anymore. This boy Mukizi is presenting this information to you so you can take it and run with it like I'm doing. The three men are also described by the painter as mulattoes. This description may have been more of a reflection of the caste hierarchy distinction that existed in South America after the Europeans arrived, which created status based on the amount of European heritage held by an individual. Upon review of this painting, an argument can be made that a more appropriate title for these men would have been the Spanish term for Afro-Indian men, Zambos, or for African men, Negro. Like the Spanish word Negro, which means black, the Spanish word Zambo would creep into the Euro-English lexicon as Sambos. Unfortunately, the Anglo-European cultural baggage who translate the word into a negative connotation for people of African descent. But as we can see from the 1770 painting, Zambos represents a further racial classification among the Europeans. Painting. The top inscription of that painting says, "From a black man with a mulatta produces a Sambo." Indian school circa 1770. In the book, No Longer Invisible, Afro-Latin American Today, we are given some additional insights on the history of the region of Esmeraldas. Regional blackness, I quote, as a force of self-liberation in Ecuador begins in Esmeraldas, and its origin occurs during a violent tropical storm and a movement of an African rebellion. The documented history of Ecuador establishes the beginnings of Afro-Hispanic culture in what is now Esmeraldas, Ecuador, where a Spanish slaving ship ran aground in 1553. There, a group of 23 Africans from the coast of Guinea, led by a black warrior named Anton, attacked the slavers and liberated themselves. Ooh, we are powerful people here in diaspora. Don't let anybody tell you different. Not longer after, this group, together with blacks entering the region, led by a Ladino, Hispanicized black person named Alonso de Illescas, came to dominate the region from northern Manabi north to what is now Barbacoas, Colombia. At this time, late 16th century, intermixture with indigenous people to whom black people fled to establish their palenques, villages of self-liberated people. Some fortified, some not. No, palenques didn't mean what you thought it meant. Was such that their features were described as Zambo, black indigenous admixture, synonyms of which were Negro, black, and mulatto, which is mixed or hybrid of black and white, which we have great people in history who were mulattoes that loved the black side. By 1599, black people were clearly in charge of what was called La República de Zambos, or Zambo Republic. Zambo refers to people of color, black people, who were descendants of Native Americans and African Americans, which you can interchange. But that is for another video. In that year, a group of Zambo chieftains, said to represent 100,000 or more Zambo people of Esmeraldas, trekked to Quito to declare loyalty to Spain. An oil painting of the chiefs from the Emerald Land of the Zambo Republic is portrayed by the, quote, Indian artist, Adrian Sanchez Yalcu. It is reportedly the earliest signed and dated painting from South America. By 1599, the date of this painting, we know that populations of settled Africans were residing in Esmeralda, Ecuador, home of our three dons, bosses, kings, priests. This coastal city is in northwestern Ecuador and is one of the few predominantly black provinces, reportedly at 70%. it has the highest concentration of people of African descent in all of Ecuador. In terms of preserving its African cultural heritage, Esmeralda's isolation may have been its saving grace. Could somebody say Gaeta? I end with this quote here by Yarez Boy. Appears to have been right when he wrote, "The black began his career in America not as a slave, but a master." In Gaeta Fo Show. So, the black man began his career in America not as a slave, but a master. So let's keep conquering knowledge, let's keep conquering understanding, let's keep conquering wisdom until we conquer the earth. And let's keep walking with the Most High, which is the most important place we could be, is by the side of the Most High. He lives in you, he lives in me, and God dog, it is time to act like it. So let's be the gods that we are, and keep each other motivated, inspired, keep loving one another, and keep pushing each other towards the proof and towards the truth. So with that, I say, in Gaeta, I say peace. Keep these fingers together. And much Zola, much love, especially to us out here in diasporans who laid the foundations of the earth. Never forget it. Stay inspired, stay motivated. Let's keep going.